Avengers, Infinity War, Easter eggs, references, and trivia. I'm going to be going over everything that Jason and I found and the few times we did see this movie. Obviously, there are going to be a ton of spoilers, so if you have not seen the movie, be careful. And if there's anything we missed, which I'm sure there are, let us know in the comments section below. Alright, so starting off, when T'Challa says, "And get this man a shield," it's a callback to the line from Captain America the First Avenger when the Senator says, when he sees skinny Steve Rogers and says, "And someone get that kid a sandwich." Next, we then get a shot of Bruce Banner in the ground in the New York Sanctum Sanctorum, where of course, Doctor Strange resides on Bleecker Street. This shot is a callback to 2012's The Avengers, where after Hulk attacks the fighter jet from the Quinjet, he gets blasted and crash lands, and Harry Dean Stanton offers him some clothes and advice about having, a condition. This is also an Easter egg and a reference to the Silver Surfer Comics Volume 3, issue number 52, which came out in August of 1991, where Silver Surfer, on the brink of death after being attacked by Thanos, crash lands into the Sanctum Sanctorum of Doctor Strange. As the Surfer blacked out, he said, "Thanos is coming." The blonde Black Widow look could be a reference to the Black Widow character from the comics known as Yelena Belova. In the comics, she was trained by the Red Room, took up the alias as Black Widow, and was a freelance SHIELD agent level 5. She made her debut in the comics during Inhumans Volume 2, number 5 in March of 1999. We finally meet Thanos' children, the Black Order, in this film. They were first teased to the audience in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy when Thanos said to Ronan, "Apparently you alienated my favorite daughter, Gamora." We also heard Nebula say on Nowhere right before she shoots down Nebula's small spacecraft, "Of all our siblings, I hated you the least." So this has been 4 years in the making of teasing the Black Order, and now we finally get to see them. If you look really closely in Tony Stark's right hand, you can see a cell phone. This is the same one that was delivered to Tony Stark by Stan Lee during the end of Captain America Civil War, where Steve Rogers in a letter said that if he ever needed him, he would be there. Peter Parker's Aliens reference to getting Ebony Maw sucked out of the ship is obviously a nod to both Alien and Aliens, where the Xenomorph in the first film and the Queen Xenomorph in Aliens were both sucked into the vacuum of space. This is the second time Spider-Man has used pop culture to defeat his opponent. The Empire Strikes Back on Giant Man was also what he did in Captain America Civil War. Stephen McFeely, one of the writers of the film, makes a cameo appearance as one of the Secretary of Defense Ross's aides, where we can see him just sitting and talking there. McFeely also co-wrote Captain America the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, and Thor the Dark World, as well as Captain America the First Avenger. When Mantis says, "We are taking ass and kicking names," this could be a reference to The Waterboy, where Clint Howard said the exact same line. When Ebony Maw traps Thor at the beginning and covers his mouth, it felt a lot like a callback and reference to how Doctor Strange locked up Caecilius in the Sanctum Sanctorum and gave him a little muzzle around his mouth. Just as they paid homage to their television show Community in the second and third Captain America films, the Russo brothers paid homage to their other well-known show, Arrested Development, in this movie. In Arrested Development, the character Tobias Funke paints himself blue to resemble the members in the Blue Man Group. In this film, blue Tobias Funke can be seen as one of the collector's items. Robert Downey Jr.'s other reoccurring role is Sherlock Holmes. In the previous outings as Iron Man, he has worked with two Dr. Watsons, Sir Ben Kingsley and Martin Freeman. In this film, he finally works with fellow Sherlock Benedict Cumberbatch. The Wakandan war cry, "Mbambe," is Xhosa for "Hold Strong." This marks the first Russo brothers film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to not have a score by Henry Jackman. Although they did not share a scene together, this is Chris Hemsworth's and Tom Holland's second appearance together, the first being in Ron Howard's In the Heart of the Sea. This movie reunites 3 cast members from the film The Losers: Idris Elba, Chris Evans, and Zoe Saldana. Steve Rogers wields a new shield in this film made from Wakandan vibranium that splits apart into 2 arm guards. This is based on 2 different shields that Rogers wielded in the comics. One shield was provided by the Black Panther and the other split apart into 2 guards. Winter Soldier goes by the codename of White Wolf, as he was called in the post-credit scene of the film Black Panther. White Wolf in the comics was T'Challa's adopted brother Hunter, who was the leader of Wakanda's secret police, the Hattusaraj. Thor, having lost his hammer Mjolnir in Thor Ragnarok, he constructs a new hammer in this film known as Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker is known for the Asgardian hammer known to Thor's comrade and one of my favorite comic book characters ever, known as Beta Ray Bill, who we saw a statue of in Thor Ragnarok as he was one of the champions for the Grand Master. When Thanos chokes Loki to death, the way he is holding him and choking him could be a visual nod in reference to the comics where Thanos holds and chokes the Hulk. Loki says to Thanos, "We have a Hulk." This is a reference to when Tony Stark said the exact same thing to Loki in Stark Tower right before the Battle of New York, when Loki said that I have an army, rather. Tony Stark calls Ebony Maw Squidward. Squidward is a character from the TV show SpongeBob SquarePants. This was an absolutely hilarious and funny joke, but I also think it would have worked as well had Tony Stark called him Voldemort in that moment. Red Skull returns to the MCU in this film, but it is not Hugo Weaving playing the character, but instead it's Ross Marquand. When Star-Lord gives Thanos the middle finger, this is a reference to the first Guardians of the Galaxy film where the Nova Corps, or rather John C. Reilly, are reading the rap sheets for each Guardian, and when they get to Peter Quill, he gives them the middle finger, claiming he doesn't know how this thing works. Spider-Man says, "Mr. Stark, I'm being beamed up." This is, of course, a Star Trek reference to when they get beamed up from the surface to the Enterprise. When Peter is falling from the Q ship and the iron suit catches him in midair, it is in reference to the first Avengers film when Loki throws Tony Stark out of the Stark Tower and the Mark 7 Iron Man suit catches him. Star-Lord calls Thanos Grimace. Grimace was a character featured in McDonald's commercials, and he is purple throughout his entire body. Tony calls Star-Lord Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon was a campy space adventure film in 1980. What is interesting, though, is the similarities with Peter Quill and Flash Gordon, being that they're both whisked off of Earth into space to fight evil alien, or rather Kree villains. Rocket's running eye joke still stays intact in this film. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy, we see Rocket asking for Vorker's eye. In the second film, thanks to Groot, he actually gets it. And in this film, it doesn't look like that it is Vorker's eye, but Rocket could have a collection of them by now, and he gives Thor one of those eyes that he got from Contraxia. Contraxia is the planet we saw Yondu and the Ravagers on their first scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Doctor Strange using the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak. On Titan, when we see the Avengers and the Guardians fighting Thanos in one of the coolest action sequences ever in movie history, Doctor Strange goes to one of his most iconic magical weapons, the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, which is highly effective at wrapping and subduing even superpowered enemies like Thanos. Tony calls Drax Mr. Clean on Titan. Mr. Clean is a brand name and mascot fully owned by Procter & Gamble and also used as an all-purpose cleaner and Melamy foam cleaner, and also Drax just really looks like the character of Mr. Clean. When Tony Stark receives the phone call from Pepper Potts as he is entering Ebony Maw's Q-ship, if you listen very carefully to Alan Silvestri's background score, it's the exact same music that he played when Steve Rogers was on the phone with Peggy Carter, and he was sacrificing himself. I thought that was a beautiful little moment and nod back to that, how both kind of in suicidal missions on a aircraft, and they're talking the love of their life, and there was a sweet little moment there. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this video. Were there any Easter eggs, references, or trivia that we did miss? Probably let us know in the comment section below. We are going to be having a few other videos related to Avengers Infinity War, so definitely be on the lookout for those videos. And if you guys like these videos and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. See you guys next time.